Greetings, Teresa. I'm
Hi, Alana.
Hai, and so we'll be doing a subject matter expert interview. So, can you please give us a short description of your business, please?
Sure. So my business is called Finger Lakes Beer Trail Marketing and Tourism Associates. It is a sole proprietorship set up as an LLC. I've been in business since 2011, so 8 years now. And the primary purpose of the business is it's a tourism and marketing organization. It's a membership-based organization to promote our local craft breweries, microbreweries throughout the Finger Lakes and surrounding regions.
So it's kind of like the tobacco
Go ahead.
trail. So it's kind of like the tobacco trail, but it's beer.
Right, it's like a wine trail. It's like a wine trail in that it's a grouping of businesses of all of the same type of business. So in this case, it's a craft breweries, and our primary marketing tool is a print map that is actually distributed all over the northeastern United States. So it's a map of all of the breweries located throughout the region. I can actually, if this works, show you. So that's, can you see the map?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the geographic region that we cover. These are the Finger Lakes in central New York. And then all of the little pint glasses there are the breweries that we promote. So it's really, the mission really is to bring more recognition and visibility to our local craft brewers and entice people to go out and visit them, go into their tasting rooms, try their products. But we also are located in a highly, well-known tourism area for wine tourism. So the craft brewing tourism really builds on the wine tourism that we've already got in the Finger Lakes.
Right. So it's kind of like a supplement to the alcoholic drinking tours.
Right.
I guess the alcoholic pursuits.
What's
Okay.
that?
I guess like alcoholic pursuits, like wine and beer.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like,
Craft beverages is kind of the term
right. Okay. So I don't know
that
the
people in the
terminology.
industry use now. Yeah. So wine, beer, cider, and distilleries all kind of fall under the craft beverage marketing sort of umbrella.
Okay. And what is a craft distillery?
Distillery makes whiskey.
Oh, okay. So it's like whiskey, wine,
Yeah, hard liquor. Yeah.
right, cider, and beer. Okay. Yeah, I should know that, but I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So your company. The first question is like the type of. You already said it's a sole business, but it's run as an
It is a sole
LLC.
proprietorship. It started out as a partnership originally.
Right.
So 8 years ago, when we started the business in 2011, I did start it with a friend at the time, and so we started it as a partnership. It was an LLC partnership, and our equity split was 51% me and 49% him. And we did it that way because we sort of wanted to have it recognized as a woman-owned business.
Right.
So the majority ownership was mine. The business also, the idea for the business also was mine. So it also made sense to give me a higher percentage of the equity
And
because I
in
did sort of have the idea for
right.
creating the business.
In entrepreneurship, that is called the idea bonus.
What's that?
In entrepreneurship, having the idea and getting more equity for it is called the idea bonus.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. As I was reading through the notes that you had sent me, I actually wish that I had sort of had those notes 8 years ago when we're doing our partnership agreement.
Right. I don't
But
doubt
everything
that.
worked out okay. In 2016, he actually decided that he kind of wanted to go off and do other things, and he, was ready for something different, and kind of felt like he had sort of given the business all that he
Could,
really
was
had
able
to give
to.
to it. Um, when we established the business as a partnership, I sort of brought to the table the marketing and the PR and the sort of the knowledge of how to operate a membership-based organization.
Right.
I had the social media expertise. I have a background in tourism marketing, whereas my former partner's background was more like back office type things. So he's a website developer and a graphic designer. So he kind of handled all of the, he designed the website, he did the graphic design for our first couple of maps. So I sort of was always the face of the business and handled sort of the interactions with customers and the breweries, and he always sort of stayed behind the scenes. Right. So when things kind of got to the point where, the back office stuff was kind of running itself, he felt that it was time for him to, move on to something else. Right. So I bought out his share of the equity that we had at that time. And then January 1st, 2017, I transferred the business over to a sole proprietorship. So it's been a sole proprietorship now for 2 full tax years.
So it's not an LLC?
It's still an LLC.
Okay, so it's a sole.
So an LLC is a limited liability corporation.
Yeah.
And it's basically just a way that you set the business up to protect your personal interests.
Yes, I'm aware of the different types of businesses.
I dropped you again. I'm sorry.
Gosh. I'm offended. Yes, I am aware of the 4 different kinds of businesses, and then the corporations break down into S corps and C corps. Corp, S corps and C corps. I feel like it's improper when you use like the Marine Corps.
Right. For this type of business, an LLC is really, probably the right kind of protection.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially since the business was started with personal funds.
Yeah. So you didn't need it. We'll get to that point. Okay, so how did you come together and create the company? Like, you had the idea, but what happened?
So, like I said in my introduction, we live in, a tourism area predominantly known for wine tourism. And we have a well-established system of wine trails that, focused around each of the Finger Lakes. And so 8 years ago, I was sort of noticing as I was going out and about, throughout the Finger Lakes, I kept sort of seeing, that there was a craft brewery kind of popping up amongst the wineries. And I just sort of kept, every few weeks or so, I'd notice, oh my gosh, there's another brewery. There's another one. There's another one. Mm-hmm. And I kind of started talking to, I've always had an interest in craft brewing. I actually have done some home brewing of my own. And so I started talking to one of the one of the brewers at one of the new breweries, and sort of was talking to him about, just this proliferation of these breweries that just seem to be popping up, all of a sudden. And we got to talking about marketing, and he said that the breweries were not eligible to become members of the wine trails. So the wine trails have maps and all sorts of tourism information that they produce, but it's limited to wineries. And the breweries were sort of in this position where, they were in need of marketing. They needed some trail-based type marketing, like what the wine trails do for the wineries. But because they weren't eligible to join the wine trails, obviously something new had to kind of arise.
Right.
So I just literally right there, based on that, like right then and there, that conversation
like
with
bulb.
that individual. Yeah, I was like, somebody like really needs to like start a beer trail.
And you're like, oh wait, I can do that.
And I was like, and then literally my next thought was, wait a minute, I'm the perfect person to do this because I've got the right background. I've got, a tourism background. I've got, a community development and an economic development background. And I thought, why wait for somebody else to do it? Why wait for somebody else to sort of like steal my idea from me? Well,
that's
the idea. So I might as well be the one to go forward with it. So I started basically just doing a lot of research to see exactly how many breweries were out there. I started, just doing a lot of research on, the craft brewing industry as a whole, and literally then driving home that day in the car, I literally had sort of like I was writing the business plan in my head as I was driving home.
That's
awesome. And then when I got home, it was really a matter of then starting the research and kind of getting everything put on paper. And I mean, that's sort of where it started. Yeah, I had the idea in February of 2011, and I launched the business in May of 2011.
Oh, it's like a fast,
so it took a few months there, for me to get everything into place, with the paperwork and, the LLC.
And where in there did the partnership come in? Like, where were you like, oh, I need this other person?
So the partnership was, that was an idea probably from the very beginning. Because I knew that I needed someone, with, who could help me with the website.
Right, so it was like supplementing your skills.
That to me was kind of the piece that for me was the most daunting. Right. I knew I needed somebody to design a website for me. So
you were looking for supplemental skills.
That was
so it was like supplemental skills you didn't have.
Right. Exactly. Our skills really supplemented each other.
Right.
My former business partner had also been involved in a couple of other businesses of his own, so he had a lot of knowledge in terms of, bookkeeping and accounting and that kind of thing for businesses. So it just really seemed to me like a partnership was the right way to go.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. How would you define success?
So I saw this question on what you had sent me, and actually I've really been thinking about, this is the one question that's really been sort of, churning in my mind, for the last couple of days, because it's an interesting question, and I think the answer is different for everybody.
Yeah.
I really think that success means something different to everyone. For me, in terms of how I define success, in terms of this business, so I'm going to put my answer in the context of my business.
Right, yeah, that's why it's on the entrepreneurship interview page.
Yeah. So for me, I should probably note that I also have a full-time job. So my business is not my full-time job. My business is kind of, it's a full business, but it's not my full-time job. Right. So it provides some supplemental income to me, but it's not my primary source of income.
Right. Would you like it to be?
And what's that?
Would you like it to be?
Yes, but I'm realistic, and I don't think that really I don't think the money is there in this particular type of business for it to necessarily replace my full-time income, with the benefits and health insurance and everything that I get, from my employer. So I've kept my job, my full-time job, really to sort of fill in, the needs for health insurance and those kinds of things. But so back to how do I define success?
Yes.
So for me, in terms of success with this business, is that I define success as sort of a feeling that I have created something that wasn't there before, and that I have sort of left my mark on the world, if you will. So that, I'm doing something, for my community, for my, area that I live in, that I'm having some kind of an impact on other people,
Absolutely.
businesses, small businesses. And so for me, success is not really necessarily about money. Obviously, making a profit is part of success.
Mhm.
I want to make a profit, or at least break even. For me, this business has provided a nice little extra bonus of, some side income that has, afforded me to kind of do some extra things in my personal life that I wouldn't have been able to do, without the extra income. But for me, it was really like just sort of like taking this nugget of an idea and really turning it into something real, and really getting this business on the map, if you will, and that's kind of the pun is intended there, because,
It's literal
um,
and figurative.
and for me, when I have breweries that sort of come to me and say, it's because of your map, that my business has doubled in size, or it's because of your map, that I had the best year ever in terms of people coming in, to my tasting room.
That's like a huge.
My biggest success story, or my biggest accomplishment, for me, and, people kind of set sort of funny goals for themselves, but my goal was that I wanted to be, sort of known nationally, for this business.
Right.
I wanted, not me personally, I wanted the business to sort of have like a national reputation. People know of other beer trails. They know of like the Portland Beer Trail. They know of the Asheville Beer Trail. They know of, Finger Lakes wine country. They know of like Napa wine country. I wanted people to know the Finger Lakes for craft beer. And a couple years ago, the Finger Lakes Beer Trail was featured in a travel article in the New York Times.
Wow.
And
That's a big
I was
deal.
actually interviewed for the article, so I was actually quoted, and quite a bit in the article. And I remember the day, I couldn't wait. I was like, I knew that it was coming because I had been interviewed, by the reporter for the article. And the day that that edition came out, I remember I had to run over to Wegmans because it was the only place locally where I could get the New York Times, either Wegmans or Barnes and Noble.
Right.
But those were the only two places where I could go get the New York Times,
Right.
on the same day, that it was released. So I ran over to Wegmans, grabbed the issue of the New York Times, flipped. I'm still standing there in the store, and I'm flipping through it, looking for the article, and I find the article. It's on the front page of the travel section, and it's like my name is like in the first sentence, and I'm quoted throughout the whole article, and that to me was sort of like, I made it. I made it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
in
a
the New
good
York
feeling.
Times. I made it.
Right. No, that's a
You know?
huge success.
And so that for me was sort of the peak of when I finally knew that all of my efforts, all of, everything that I had put in to marketing and PR and all of that had finally really sort of, I felt like I,
Applied it well enough that it was like making a valuable impact.
yeah, exactly. And one of the
Perfect.
things that I is sort of like a tenet of, one of my core operating principles is don't pay for PR, try to get as much, I have a very low marketing, a very low advertising budget, because I really truly believe that there are ways to market your business and get publicity and, all of that for free. So that's really kind of
Absolutely.
what I've sort of made some great strides over the last 8 years in, is really trying to get that notoriety in a good way for the business without having to pay for it.
Yeah, it's a good challenge.
Like an article in the New York Times.
Yeah. Newspapers
but,
are really
we've also,
big deal.
So, and we've also been featured in the Wall Street Journal.
Oh.
From more of like a business kind of perspective. We've been named by a bunch of different travel sites, Yahoo Travel, hitmonk.com, BBC Travel. There's others, and I'm blanking on them right now, who have, named the Finger Lakes Beer Trail as one of the top craft beer destinations.
That's so fulfilling.
Been featured in a couple of different, tourism and craft beer type publications, along with people from, Portland, Oregon, which to me, it's like, that's sort of who I modeled. I kind of took the Portland, Oregon's Ale Trail and sort of used that as kind of a model.
Yeah.
For the Finger Lakes Beer Trail.
To emulate.
And then the Finger Lakes Beer Trail was actually featured in a craft beer magazine article alongside the Portland Ale Trail.
Wow. Congratulations.
It's like equal. You know what I mean? It's like an equal. Yep. Which again was sort of another, feather in my cap, I guess, that, this trail that I kind of used as a model that I sort of emulated and strived to be, in only a few short years, I've established something that's now on par with that.
Right.
With that beer trail.
Status reached.
Yeah.
That's funny. And what has your greatest challenge thus far been, and have you overcome it?
Oh. The greatest challenge probably was initially switching from, the partnership over to the sole proprietorship. Because there was a lot of emotions involved in that, between me and my former business partner. There was, things didn't necessarily go. When we operated as a partnership, we really operated more as friends, and, we ran the business together, but it was always a very friendly venture. But then when we got to the point where we had to, legally split the business apart, it got a little contentious. I had to sort of turn into a business person, and I had to make sure that I was protecting my interests and that I was protecting the interests of the business, being that I was the one who was going to carry the business forward. And he kind of felt like I was sort of nickel and diming him a little bit. He sort of felt like, he's like, oh, well, whoa, I thought we were friends. And it's like, well, right, but, now it's business.
Yeah, the
business
so is the priority.
That was a very emotionally and, it was hard because I had to sort of put on a different hat, and, we ultimately ended up parting, I guess what you would say, friendly terms, but I haven't had any contact with him really much since.
Oh.
So it really was kind of like a breakup, it was, and then going along with that, he handled all of the website maintenance. He handled, the graphic design. He handled some, things that I didn't have or that I don't have the skills or the expertise to take over myself. So I needed to find a way to replace those things that he was doing for the business.
Right.
And so what I ended up doing was I did find someone who does, as an independent contractor, who does the website maintenance for me. So I have him on a retainer a month, like I pay him a monthly fee to just handle the website. Make sure the website is, up and running. If it happens to go down, if we have a problem with our host, our server, he deals with it. He handles it.
Mm-hmm.
He, whenever updates need to be made to the website, he takes care of it. So I don't have to worry about the website, and that was really, for me, that was my biggest fear with, how am I gonna run this business when I know absolutely nothing about sort of operating a website, and the website is a very
Key.
It's the face of our business. Other than the print map, our website is the resource, the face of the business. We don't have a physical location. We don't have, offices or anything like that. It's a home-based business. So the website is the face of the business, and it needs to operate. It needs to function. And so, like I said, so that to me was sort of what gave me a little bit of anxiety. But then once I, found this person to, take things over, and who basically picked up right where Adam, my former partner, had left off, it was a very streamless transition.
That's good. The ease of flow.
And then as far as the graphic design, that same thing. I have a handful of different graphic designers that I will just call up when I need an ad designed. If I'm placing an ad in a magazine or a newspaper or something, and I need an ad designed, I have a couple of graphic designers that I can call or email, and they turn things around, in a couple of days. And then I just pay them, on a per job kind of basis.
Right. So you have the website guy that you pay monthly, and you have the graphic designers that you pay per mission?
Right.
Nice. Okay.
Right. I pay him a set fee, a monthly fee.
Wouldn't that be something you charge them?
What's that?
No, I think I'm just misunderstanding the application of the word fee. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. It's a set amount that I pay him every month for him to, maintain the website and, take care of all of that.
Right, so it's a fee. It's a fee for his work.
Yeah.
So from
Yeah.
him.
Right.
Nice. Okay, that works. Yeah, I was just misunderstanding the way you phrased it. Okay, so obviously you don't have a business or a business location, so you're not a brick and mortar place. You really didn't need seed money to start out because you just did it a few months by yourself.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So what method of promoting has been the most efficient for you, and do you rely on social media as a platform?
So, yes, social media is our primary platform for marketing. I've done a little bit of radio advertising, a little bit of TV advertising in the past. That was back when we had some grant money from New York State to spend on tourism marketing. Without that grant money from New York State, there's no way I would have been able to afford TV or radio advertising. It's ridiculously expensive.
I'm sure it is.
And quite frankly, the rate of return for the amount of money that you spend on that was nothing. So really my primary means of marketing, the small marketing budget that I do have, goes to Facebook advertising, and a little bit of print advertising in, some local tourism publications, hospitality guides, and like magazines, like craft beer type local magazines. But predominantly the marketing outlet that we use the most is Facebook. And Facebook has been phenomenally successful for the beer trail, and for promoting, promoting events that we do, programs that we might run. When we do like a Facebook ad, they say that industry experts say that like your engagement rate, that your Facebook engagement rate, that if you're achieving 1%, if you're achieving at least a 1% engagement rate, then you're doing fine. We consistently achieve like a 15% engagement rate.
Wow, that's impressive.
So, I mean, that right there, the numbers show, really how well Facebook works for our type of business, our type of, programs and, different things that we do. A lot of that, I think, has to do with obviously with Facebook advertising. What I like about that is that you can really
measure it by
narrow down your target market.
Right.
You really can
specify the group of people that that your advertisement will be exposed to.
Exactly. You put in the parameters for who you want to see your ad. Gender, age group, location, interests. So you really are able to narrowly target your audience, very specifically, with the Facebook advertising. So I think that probably has a lot to do with why we see such a good, good engagement rate, a good response rate.
I bet it is. All right, I'm skipping most of these questions, so I'm just trying to find one that is applicable. So, do you prioritize control of your business or the financial reward of having a business?
To me, so my business, I've always said that the Finger Lakes Beer Trail is my passion project. That it's what I do. It's really what I do to sort of fill kind of something inside of me. I never realized that I had sort of this entrepreneurial spirit or, this until I started a business, until I sort of had that idea and decided to kind of go down the road of entrepreneurship and, becoming a small business owner. I never realized how much personal satisfaction, I would get from that.
Right.
So for me, I prioritize things in terms of making a profit. Obviously I want, I sort of, every program or every project that I do a project-based budget. And I make sure, that I'm factoring my time in as an expense, almost like a salary, kind of like a, if you will. So I factor it in as an expense so that I make sure that my time is kind of getting accounted for as, an expense of the business. And then I make sure that after sort of you add up like all the revenue and the expenses, that there's still a profit, that there's still some kind of profit. I mean, it could just be a couple of $1,000s. I mean, but at least as long as it's in the black and not in the red.
Yeah.
But then I rarely ever actually take a salary or money out of the business for myself.
Yeah, you just put it back into the business?
I don't pay myself on a regular basis. I don't, and again, because it's a sole proprietorship, I'm, my business income and my personal income are all reported on the same tax return. So it really financially or legally or tax-wise, it doesn't really make a difference too much if I just leave the money in the business account, in the bank account, or if I draw it out and give it to myself like as an income, because I'm treating all of it as income anyways. You know, so I rarely actually take money out of the business account and, you know, pay myself.
So
I kind of just keep the money in the business account so that it's there.
Right, so you can use it for marketing or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really smart. Because you don't have any employees that need to pay, do you?
Right, no employees.
Okay. So yeah,
right.
you're just
everybody that I have hired per se, I've hired as independent contractors.
Right, from
so
the business
they are not
account.
Employees. Right.
That makes sense. It's really nice having.
I've hired my son, as a matter of fact. I've hired Matthew to do map deliveries for me. You know.
Where do you deliver them to? Where do you deliver them to?
Oh, the maps. So we print 125,000 maps every year. We update the map every year and print 125,000 copies, and they go throughout basically the whole like mid-Atlantic region of the United States.
So like when you go
about
into
75% of the maps stay within New York State and stay within kind of like the Finger Lakes region. So all of the breweries get copies of the maps, hotels, motels, all of the tourism visitor centers, limo companies, so 75% of the maps stay within like upstate New York. And then the other 25% of the maps go out of state, go to like tourism type places in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, sort of all of the states that kind of surround New York, and that are typical kind of what we call feeder markets. So there are particular areas of the United States, predominantly the northeastern United States, that have been identified as tourism feeder markets for the Finger Lakes region. So that's kind of where I target, where I'm putting the maps, is where I know, people are coming from as tourists into the Finger Lakes region.
Is there any sort of, feedback questionnaire that you would have people fill out?
So whenever I sell something, so we do an annual passport program, which is a coupon booklet that gives them discounts at the local breweries located along the trail. I sell those online predominantly, and as part of the checkout process, the customer has to sort of answer a question, how they found out about the passport program or how they found out about the beer trail. Right. And that's what I use then to really determine, where to put my marketing dollars. Right. So, they check off, did they hear about it from word of mouth, Facebook, a Facebook ad, radio, television, when we were doing radio and television advertising, those were choices. And that's how I knew that the radio and the television advertising weren't working for us, because honestly, they came back, like out of like 5,000 responses, less than 10 people had come there because of radio advertising.
Like TV is like so on its way out.
We had put $30,000 into radio advertising.
No.
And it resulted in 10 customers.
Wow, yeah, it's a waste of money.
You know what I mean? It resulted in the sales of like $200 basically.
Yeah, that's nothing. It's like
the passport's like $20, so 10 times $20 is like $200.
Right.
So we gained $200 off of a $30,000 radio buy.
Wow.
So, like you said, we had grant money to do that. Yeah. So, it was okay because, it wasn't my own money. It was, it was money that, was, extra, but it said to me really clearly never to put my own funds, my own business funds, into radio advertising because,
I mean,
yeah.
both of those things are dying. So it's like social media is really a really large interface. Like everybody's on social media like all day long. And that works for people. Okay, so
and I am just starting to really try to build up our presence on Instagram. We do have an Instagram page.
I will find you.
And I'm really trying to just start, really
promoting.
Trying to build up a presence on Instagram,
right. Get it rolling.
Equivalent to kind of what we've got on Facebook.
Right. And do you have a Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay, I will have to get your Facebook page and your Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I'm not up in New York much, but when I go up there, I will.
I'll send you the links.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And,
we're on Twitter as well.
Okay.
We're on Twitter. We're on Twitter. Twitter, I've pretty much got set up to do sort of an auto retweet of things that any of our member breweries post. We kind of automatically retweet their tweets. So I don't do much manually with Twitter. I've kind of got Twitter set up
so it
through
just does it by itself.
Different apps, that just sort of keep it running kind of, on its own. Facebook is the one thing that I'm actually on Facebook on the business page, doing something with the business page, all the time.
Right.
To keep sort of the engagement and to keep people, to kind of keep the beer trail sort of at the forefront
keep of alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've never gone live. No.
No, I know. I didn't mean that. I meant like keep the business advertising alive, like living.
Alive, yeah.
No, I feel that. I mean, I rarely go live as well. I mean, I just post videos.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I could do these go live videos from different breweries.
Yeah, you could. That's a good
might
idea.
be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you should do that actually. Like be at a brewery and be like, all right, well we're going live at this brewery, and this is what it's like, and then you do like a little tour.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, I know.
This is how I actually come up with most of my ideas, is talking to people and just having a conversation with someone, and then it's like ding, light bulb. Because I've actually been trying to come up with an idea for something that would be like something that people would kind of look for every week, like how like people do the Throwback Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm like part of an entrepreneurship group on Facebook, and they do something called Promote Yourself Monday. So like every Monday they want, they sort of feature one of the entrepreneurs who's part of the group.
Have you ever been
so I'm trying to think of something for the beer trail that would be like,
new.
There's this word in the brewing industry, Firkin Fridays. A firkin, Firkin. A firkin is a very small keg. So it's a small little keg of beer that like fits on the top of like a bar. And
that's cool.
So a lot of breweries do what's called Firkin Fridays, where they will tap, a small firkin of beer that they've brewed, and it only lasts, it might not even last through the whole weekend kind of thing. I mean, they might go through the whole thing, that night, but so I've been trying to think of something like that, something clever that I could do, like at a set time every week. And that might be it. Maybe I should do a brewery visit, at a set time every week and do a live Facebook. It would be a benefit of membership. And that's something that I always have to sort of think about, because we're a membership-based organization. So the breweries join the beer trail. They become members of the beer trail. And that is then what entitles them, then that's what gets them on the map. That's, so
So do
It's
breweries
paid
ask
advertising,
you?
but it's framed as a membership,
Right. So do
an annual
breweries?
membership.
Do
So I always have to sort of think about, what's the return on their annual investment.
Right, for sure.
I always have to make sure that I have a good set of benefits that the paid breweries that are paying to be members of the trail are actually getting
Their money's
something
worth.
in return.
Right.
Most of them feel like just being on the map is value enough.
Yeah.
Really. Most of them feel like, just having their listing, their dot, and the other side of that print map, which I showed you, is all ads. Most of them feel like just having an ad and their marker and their listing on that map is enough of a benefit for their annual membership. But then there's others, who want more than that. So I'm always trying to come up with ideas for what more can I do,
right.
For our members.
To be featured live.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a new thing for you. All right, so we're gonna close it up, and I really appreciate you doing this interview with me, and I'm really glad that I got to learn so much about the Northeastern Beer Trail, and I found out what it freaking means, which is pretty much a mini keg.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And Rochester, actually, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there's Rochester. This is the Rochester area. Rochester has a huge amount of breweries. So if you get back up to go check out.
I'm sorry, I cut out. If you get back up to Rochester.
If you get back up to Rochester, I'll come up and I'll take you on a personalized beer tour of Rochester.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know what's around, so that'd be great.
I'll take you to some of my favorite spots up there.
Awesome, sounds great. Okay, so I'm going to close up this interview. Thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, and I hope your business continues to thrive.